Hey there everyone. Right now I've got a kitchen for you. Not a very difficult kitchen, but a kitchen nonetheless. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a shot and I'm going to try to show you how I do kitchens. Hopefully this will help you. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my composition. And I'm going to pick this corner. While not the most ideal shot, it's the best one I could see for the angle that I need to get. So I'm going to set up and then I'm going to work on my camera height. The ceiling's rather tall. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. I want the camera to be higher than the table and I need the camera to be higher than the countertops, because if you're looking to buy this home, you'd want to know what the countertops look like. You don't want to be underneath or even with the countertops. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get my composition nailed in. All right. I'm going to find a point in here to focus on. I always like to pick the window. So I'm going to pick the window and lock the focus in. Now, the next thing I need to do is look at my scene and see if anything needs to be moved. Well, looking through here, there's a light on. You could turn the lights on or off, that's up to you. I prefer to have them off. All right. Okay, now notice I have the windows or the blinds open. I always have the realtor tell the homeowner to make the blinds to where you can see straight out. It lets me have that natural light come in, and I can also get a window pull out of the windows. So for me, it's a win-win. Yes, you don't have to get window pulls every time you do a real estate shot, but they always seem to look better to me. If there's something heinous outside the window, of course, I'm not going to let you see outside the window. What we need to do is figure out how much ambient light we can use. So again, ISO 320, f-stop 7.1, no surprise. For the shutter speed, all right, so it's telling me, the camera's telling me right now that a 60th of a second would be good. I'm going to go ahead and see how much ambient light that lets in. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my flash anyway. I'm going to put to 1/4 of a power. This is total guess on the flash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim straight up at the ceiling and bounce this flash off the white popcorn ceiling and let that rain down over the scene. All right? So let's give the first one a try. I don't want to be right over the camera. I'm going to be over to the left or right, and I'm going to move this around. We'll take several shots. It's not going to be a one-shot deal, I can assure you. All right, so it's a little bit dark. What I'd like to do is lighten up the shutter speed. I'm going to go ahead and put a 30th of a second. Should give me more ambient light. Try this again. All right, so I'm liking the way that's looking. Actually don't see much of a problem with it. The windows, of course, are blown out, but I'm going to get that in another shot anyway. So now I'm moving the flash around a little bit, because I like playing with the shadows in post-production anyway. So get a couple of shots there. Now what I'm going to do is just focus on the ceiling. I think the ceiling was okay in the other ones, but what I like to do is I'm going to lighten the shutter speed up a little bit more, raise the flash all the way up, and that always gives me a nice smooth ceiling shot to use. Now I'm going for the window. I'm going to crank this down, the shutter speed, a little bit more to 1/100th of a second. I'm going to turn the flash down a little bit since I'm going to point it directly, but at an angle at the window, so we can see out of the window just a little bit. So we got those photos right there, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into Photoshop and put this all together. All right, I got the photos loaded into Adobe Raw, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of the photos and see how we did. Here's photo number 1 and 2, not looking so bad at all actually. This is when I was moving the flash around on 3, 4, I was moving it to hard left, and the 5th one, and then the last one would be the window pull. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through Well, if you hear a noise right now, my wife's got to walk through while I'm doing a video.
Oh, shut up.
Sorry about that, everyone. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the good ones, the ones I want to work with, which in this instance is going to be the first one. I think we'll keep that one. We'll keep the second one and that window pull. The others, the shadows weren't very bad at all on the other ones, so like I said, I always take more pictures than I actually need. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my presets to them. Now normally I'm going to click on presets and I have it all saved here. I hit one button and all of my presets are applied. But I don't want to do that right now because you don't know what my presets are. So let me show you. I'm going to go to detail. I'm going to click on that. And for sharpening, here is the formula that I like to use. I use 48. Then for radius, I do 1.4. Then 48. Make that 8. For masking, I do 100, and noise reduction is 15. Whoops. All right, so then I also go over here to lens correction, and I click on remove chromatic, enable profile correction. That's a huge one. I don't care what you do, but make sure that you, under lens correction, click enable profile correction. What it's allowing Adobe RAW to do is read what lens you used, and it makes the adjustments for that lens. In other words, the natural distortion that that lens would have, it helps correct it. So you definitely want to use that. Another thing that I apply to everything is I take clarity up to 18. Anyway, those are my presets that I do to everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to piece those 3 photos together. Once I've done that, then I'm going to open it back up in Adobe RAW to make my final adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead, I got those 3 pictures selected, I'm going to click Open Images. So what that does is that opens all the photos up in Photoshop. So we have Photo 1, Photo 2, and Photo 6. First thing I'm going to do is go to Photo 1, toggle between both. Okay, so the first one's a dark one. Next one's a light one. I'm going to start with a lighter photo. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hit Command A. That's Control. When I say it's Control on a PC and Command on a Mac. So whichever system you're using, when I say Command, if you're using a PC, use Control. So I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to use Command A to select everything. And then I'm going to hit Command C to copy. I'm going to go back to the first picture, and then I'm going to hit Command V to paste. So now that I have these 2 photos in layers, one over the other, on the top layer, I have the lighter image, and underneath that I have the darker image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mask on the top image, and it's white. So I am going to change my paintbrush to paint with black. So we will reveal things through the mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush tool and I'm going to move the opacity to about 29%, 30, somewhere in that range. It doesn't really make any difference. For what I'm doing here, I just need it to be a lighter opacity, and I'm going to brush in a little bit of that darker image right up here at the top because it seemed a little bright where the flash was coming from, so I'm going to darken that up just a tad. Now I also want to darken this door just a little bit, so I'm just going to click on that just a little bit. Now right here, right behind that chair is a little dark. I'll click probably 1 time on that. And maybe 1 time on this table. Okay, you may not even see that it's getting dark, but it's just getting a tad darker just where I think it's a little too bright. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the layers. I'm going to right click and flatten the image. Now what I'm going to do is go to this image here where I was working on the window. Now through this window is only looking at the side of another house. So I'm not worried about I wasn't trying to get a crystal clear window pull from this. But this is a shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. And I pointed the flash at the window so I could light up the window. I want to light up the window frame and everything around that. And what will be darker, because I use a faster shutter speed, is in between those little slits there where you can see out of the window. I'll demonstrate why I did that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command A to copy or to select everything, Command C, and then I'm going to go over to our image that we already worked on a little bit, and I'm going to paste it on top. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Option key on a Mac and click on the mask, which will make me a black mask there. For a PC, that's going to be Alt. And then I'm going to go here and change this to darken. Now I'm going to go to my paintbrush tool and paint with white at 100% opacity just over the window. And as you can see, it gives me that window pull that I used, but it's not selecting anything else. And that's because since I pointed the flash straight at this window, it made everywhere around the window very bright, and the only darker portion of this window was outside of the window because we had changed our shutter speed to 100. So right now the photo's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and flatten this image. There's a couple things that are actually just one big thing that's sticking out like a sore thumb to me, and that is this little dot here. I'm just going to take my clone tool and click Option and clone that out real quick. All right, so now what I'm just going to do is open this up in Adobe Raw just to make sure my verticals are vertical and do any color correction, and we'll be done. Okay, now we've got our photo back in Adobe Raw, and my verticals look pretty vertical. That's why I love using the geared head, because you can dial that right in. But I always like to check it. I'm going to click the transform tool, and there's a couple of these settings that I like to use. One is the automatic, and the other one would be the vertical. So let's try the automatic and see if it makes much of an adjustment. Let me toggle back and forth. As you can see, I was a little off. And let me see what happens when I hit vertical. Okay, I think I'm going to use the vertical setting. So what that let me do is that just tweaked it just a little bit to make my verticals extra vertical. How's that? And now as far as the white balance goes, I think it looks fairly decent. The white balance tool that I like to use would be right here. And what I like to do is click on something that is white and see if it adjusts. It adjusted just a little bit here, which, hey, I'm okay with that as well. And I think that looks pretty good. And we will turn that into the Realtor. Thanks for watching that video. Hopefully it helped you a little bit. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you feel like you've learned at least $1 worth of information from this, check out our Patreon page. And for all you new people out there, there's a lot of perks on the Patreon page for you to check out. See you in the next video.